Hare Krishna. Welcome you all to the Sunday Bhagavad Gita classes. So we are in the chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, and chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita is also known as the summary of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is briefly describing all the topics that he would be talking to Arjuna. And we are in the last section of the second chapter, where Krishna is talking about the devotees who are in Krishna consciousness. How do we identify them? What are the symptoms of a person who are in Krishna consciousness? Why is it important to understand the symptom? Anything has a symptom, right? If you have a disease, you have a symptom. If you're a wealthy person, you have a symptom. So similarly, if we are a devotee is also identified with certain qualities and certain behavior. So that is what Arjuna is asking to Krishna. Because previously Krishna was describing about Bhakti Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. And what are the four benefits of Buddhi Yoga? Freedom from good and bad reactions, freedom from repeated birth and death, indifferent to Vedic rituals, and understanding the relationship between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and us. So these are the four benefits of Buddhi Yoga. And Arjuna is asking further question to Krishna, how do we identify such a person who is in Buddhi Yoga or who is in Krishna consciousness? How does he walk? How does he sit? How does he talk? How does he behave? And Krishna is replying to each of the Arjuna's question. And first he says that a Krishna conscious person is completely in control of his senses and he does not make any plans. He is completely dependent on the plan of Krishna. So that is the first symptom of a Krishna conscious person who is completely dependent on Krishna's plan. And then a Krishna conscious person controls his senses. Wherever he is in a pratikul situation, in an unfavorable situation, what does the tortoise do? Whenever there is a danger, what does the tortoise do? It
Just
withdraws
withdraw.
its limbs and
Hmm.
under the shell. So similarly, a Krishna conscious person, when he is in an unfavorable situation, he withdraws all his senses. For example, if a Krishna conscious person has to attend some party or some material functions where there is no Krishna or there is no glorification of Krishna. So, in such a case, does he involve himself in talking some useless talks or he speaks very sparingly and he remembers Krishna the most? So what a
Yeah.
devotee does is he is there, physically is present there because sometimes a situation arises where we need to be a part of certain things where we don't intend to, but he sparingly speaks, he sparingly participates, but he is always remembering Krishna in his thing. And then he is always steady no matter whatever is the situation is there in this material world. There is always upheavals, right? So we can see that in the recent past 1 month there is a war between the US and the Iran, and so many other countries are affected. Example, Dubai. In the 14-20 years, Dubai has taken such a massive growth, and what happened to the country in the just in few days? All the
Hmm.
wealth that is created, all the opulences that have been created. Now we see that, people are fleeing out of the country. Banks are fleeing out and they are just selling out whatever they want. So we can see that there is nothing steady in this world, right? So in spite of these material upheavals, a Krishna conscious person, he remains steady. So in Prabhupada's Leelamrit, there is a description where Prabhupada, during the World War II, there were bombs that were thrown in places like Calcutta, which was affected. But Prabhupada was not at all affected. He was still, doing his bhakti. He was sitting in his upstairs and he was just doing because he was completely dependent on Krishna, because he knows that if Krishna protects us, nobody can kill us. If Krishna wants to kill us, nobody can protect us. So he was completely dependent on Krishna. So we see in Prabhupada all these qualities were manifested. And then It is not very easy for a person to control the senses. Even a man of discrimination who knows what is right, what is wrong, can fall down. Examples or Vishwamitra Muni, Saubari Muni. They were all great yogis and they were doing tapasya, but in spite of that, they were fallen. Vishwamitra Muni, just by hearing the ankle sound of Menaka, his tapasya got disturbed. Saubari Muni, he went underwater because he didn't want to be in the outside, because he thought that if he is outside, he will be distracted with many things around him. So he went deep inside the water and he was meditating. But even in such a condition, just by seeing two fish uniting, what can we even make out of the fish? Just imagine two fish uniting. His mind got agitated. He came out and he married 50 daughters of the king. And later on, he came into the realization. So, in the following verse, Krishna says that the only way to control the senses is to become Matpara. Matpara means what? Completely becoming Krishna conscious, completely dependent on Krishna. Only unless otherwise we become Matpara, we cannot be able to control our senses. And when we develop a higher taste, what happens? The lower taste will automatically go away, because senses always needs an engagement. You can't shut down your eyes, you can't shut down your ears, you cannot shut down your tongue. They need engagement, but by hearing Krishna Katha, by tasting Krishna Prasadam, by seeing the deities of Krishna, by seeing their beautiful darshan, our senses can be engaged. And therefore, whatever sense gratification one gets in this material world can be negated. You will not develop interest before. For example, when you were before Krishna consciousness, you might have been interested to watch movies and everything. Those things were very much giving you happiness and pleasure. Now, after becoming Krishna consciousness, after coming into Krishna consciousness, do you still have the same taste to watch those movies? No, because we have developed a higher taste. We think if at all we have time, I will do some more chanting, I'll do some more hearing, I will do some more reading. Like that, we try to engage our senses in the higher purpose. And in the previous class, we saw about the anatomy of anger. How does a person develops anger? Dhyayato vishayan pumsa sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kama krodho bijayate. When a person is contemplating on the sense objects, so what happens? He develops an attachment towards it. And once he develops the attachment, if he is not getting that, then what happens? It turns into the anger. And even if he obtains that, in this material world, the desires are always multiplying. When you are fulfilling one desire, then two more desires arise in us. When you are fulfilling your second desire, another two more desire comes. So desires are always endless. Even people, they may save a lot of money and they may plan a trip. But just even before they finish the trip, then they start planning what will I do for the next summer. Correct? Will you be ever contented with wherever you go or whatever you do? No. Okay, now now we had a plan to go to Europe. Okay, it's done. So next time, where should we go? Should we go to China or should we go to Australia or should we go to Japan? Like that, our desires keeps on increasing. And the unfulfilled desire, what it happens? It turns into anger. So anger arises because we are in contemplating on the sense objects, because we have an uncontrolled mind. For example, if it is an Ekadashi day, you are invited by one of your friend and there is a very nice feast that is kept there, and the feast is kept in such a way that it is also offered, and it is not any abominable food. But in such a case, what should we do? Should we follow our fast or should we get attached to those prasadam that is kept and we end up eating? What do?
We should follow the
We do the fasting. But let's say if it is a small child, they also do Ekadashi, but they're not very strong in controlling their senses. What do? They break their fast, right? Because when they see all those delicious food items, will they be still able to control their senses?
Not
No, right?
really.
So this happened in a previous year. One of the Mataji, it was the engagement of her daughter, and it was an Ekadashi day. So she arranged two types of prasadam. It came from Govindas only. One is the Ekadashi prasadam on one side, another side is the normal Govindas prasadam. So since my daughter is also keeping Ekadashi for, like, let's say for a long time, like past 5 years, but having been in that situation when she saw all those delicious Govinda's food, and she said, Mama, today I'm not going to fast. Is it okay? Because what happened when you see those objects, you start contemplating and you develop an attachment towards it, right? And when after developing the attachment, if you're not obtaining, then obviously it will turn into the anger. Right? Today, many such things are happening. We see today in the newspaper, in the news, we hear if a boy is developing an attachment towards the girl, and if the girl is not consenting, or if the girl leaves, sometimes we see that the boy ends up killing the girl. Right? Have we not heard such news? Husband killing the wife, wife killing the husband, parents killing the children, children killing the parents. All these things are happening because in the following sloka, Krishna says, Krodhat bhavati sammoha, sammoha smriti viprama. Smriti vipram, buddhinasho pranashyati. When what happens when you get angry, your memory is lost and you completely lose your intelligence. And again, you fall down to the material pool. When we see that when a person gets angry, he does not know what he is doing. He's completely unaware about his positions. We will see, when the politicians, when they are slightly provoked in the public places, sometimes they speak so low that they'll be talking even worse than a sweeper, right? They get so much provoked. They even forget their position, right? That they are a leader of a party or they are even a chief minister or a prime minister or whatever it is. And they speak very angrily, they get subdued to the anger. And anger can be so devastating. Out of anger, in a worst case, if you see most of the murders, that happened not it was previously planned, it is because of the uncontrolled anger which has turned into the murder. Like we see sometimes the boys are fighting with each other and three boys they end up killing one boy, all because when you're in anger you lose your discrimination and you're completely fallen into the material pool. So now Krishna is further talking about how does a Krishna conscious person walk means how does he behave. So we'll do the sloka number 64, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, sloka number 64. Ragadvesha vimuktaishu
रागद्वेषविमुक्तस्तु
vishayanindriyaicharan
विषयानिन्द्रियैश्चरन्
atmavastairvideyatma
आत्मवस्तैर्विधेयात्मा
prasadam adhigacchati.
प्रसादम् अधिगच्छति।
Ragadvesha vimuktaishu
रागद्वेषविमुक्तैस्तु
vishayan indriyaicharan
विषयानिन्द्रियैश्चरन्
atmavashairvideyatma
आत्मवश्यैर्विधेयात्मा
prasadam adhigacchati.
प्रसादम् अधिगच्छति।
Ragadvesha vimuktaishu
रागद्वेषविमुक्तैस्तु
vishayanindriyaicharan
विषयानिन्द्रियैश्चरन्
atmavashairvideyatma
आत्मवश्यैर्विधेयात्मा
prasadam adhigacchati.
प्रसादम् अधिगच्छति।
Can you recite Lekha Mataji?
Yeah, yeah, sure. द्वेषविमुक्तैस्तु
Ragadvesha vimuktaishu
विषयान् इन्द्रियैश्चरन्
Vishayan Indriyacharan
आत्मवश्यैर्विधेयात्मा
Atmavashyir Videyatma
प्रसादम् अधिगच्छति.
Prasadam Adhikachati.
Raga, attachment, dvesha, and detachment, vimuktai, by one who has become free from, two, but, vishayan, sense objects, indriya, by the senses, charan, acting upon, atma vishaya, under one's control, videya atma, one who follows regulated freedom, prasadam, the mercy of the Lord, Adhigachati, attains. Translation. But a person free from all attachment and aversion, are able to control his sense through regulative principles of freedom, can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord.
Thank you, Mataji. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasad Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikas Swamiti Namini. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasad Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Desatarini. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, a Krishna conscious person, he is completely free from attachment and aversion. We are either attached to something or we have aversion to something. Isn't it true? We like few people and we dislike few people. We like few things and we dislike few things. So we are living in the world of duality. Icha Dvesha Samudvena Dvandva Mohena Bharata. Further, Krishna says in the 7th chapter that, we are in the Icha and Dvesha. We like something and we don't like something. So, as long as one is in this duality, Icha and Dvesha, Raga and Dvesha, then what happens? We continue to remain in the material pole. That's why Krishna is always talking about Samadukka Sukham. He's always telling us to be balanced and to be controlling. Tam Titishashva Bharata. He says in the 14th sloka, Matra Sparshyastu Kaunteya Shitoshna Sukha Dukkata Agama Apayino Anitya Tam Titishashva Bharata. So, like how the season changes, sometimes we get happiness and sometimes we get distress. But everything in this world is temporary. Nothing is going to be permanent. If we are undergoing a difficult phase, that is also going to be a temporary phase. If we are undergoing a happy phase, that is also going to be temporary because nothing is going to last here forever. So when nothing is going to last here forever, why do we take things so seriously? When a child is building a sand castle near the beach and when the waves came and take out the home, the child may cry, but will the parents also will join the children and cry for the sand castle which has been washed away by the waves? Do we cry? The child will cry definitely because the child built such a beautiful sand castle. The child would not like the sand castle to get ruined. But why we don't cry?
We know the reality, and
We know that it is a temporary house. It is not going to last for a long time. But do we have that similar thought while we are living this material world? Yudhishthir was asked this question by Yaksha when the 5 Pandavas, when they became unconscious drinking the water. Yaksha says that I will ask few questions and if you are giving a satisfactory answer, I will bring all your brothers to life. So the first question he asked is, what is the most amazing thing in this world? For that he said, Yani, everybody is seeing that somebody else is dying, right? We see the neighbors dying, we see the family member dying, we see so many people dying. But what do we think? We think that we never die. We think that we are going to live forever, right? When we were going in the Kashi, while we were in the Kashi Ghat, we saw so many corpses were taken for the cremation. Because they say generally, right, if you do cremation in Kashi, you will not get the next life. We see like so many corpses going. So are we not seeing that people are dying every day, every moment? So when we know that this world is so temporary, why do we get attached or develop aversion to something? And what does he do is he controls his senses through the regulative principle of freedom. What do you mean by when we say generally freedom? Freedom means what? There is no rules and regulation. That is called freedom. When you say freedom means we are not bound to any rules. But why does Prabhupada use the word regulative principle of freedom? Does it look little contrary? How by following the regulative principle one can attain the freedom?
No, but freedom is there, but there is some restriction also to that freedom.
Yeah,
Not
but here it is said that regulative principles of freedom. So we are obtaining the freedom by following the regulative principles, right? Because what happens when you're following the four rules and
regulative.
regulations? What happens? First is no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication, and then no meat eating. So when you are following the regulative principles of what happens is you are getting freedom from all the sinful reactions. All these four things are the most abominable activities: meat eating, illicit relation, intoxication. So these things are gambling. These are the very abominable reactions. By getting oneself away from these abominable reactions, what happens is we become free. Because these sinful activities, if we continue to perform, then what happens? Because of the reactions, we need to take repeated birth and death. That's why Prabhupada gave this four regulative principles. Sometimes, very big rock stars, and many people came to meet Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada disciples would think, maybe let Prabhupada does not talk about the four regulative principles, because if he talks, then people may run away and go. Because as you know, in America, these four regulative things are easily broken by each and every person on a day-to-day basis, isn't it? At least for if you're in India, you're not so much doing all these sinful activities, at least previously. Not, I don't know about today, but previously. But in Western countries, we see that everybody almost eats meat, an illicit relation, and everybody has some relation with a boy or a girl even before the marriage. Dating is very common, right? And gambling, we see places like Las Vegas. Even in a material term, it is called as a sin city, right? Imagine they themselves call it as a sin city, means what kind of activities are going on. Intoxication. See, most of the people, they drink, right? They are alcoholic, they drink, at least they drink socially or whatever it is they drink. And coffee and tea are also considered to be an intoxicant because it contains caffeine, right? Caffeine is also very addictive thing. Why we are not drinking coffee and tea? Because that also causes an addiction. If you know people who are taking coffee and tea, unless they start their day with the coffee or tea, then their day is not started. Correct? Then if you're dependent on that, then how can you surrender to Krishna completely? Mam ekam sharanam praja, how it will happen? Because you're taking shelter of coffee, you're taking shelter of tea. Therefore, this regulative principles, when we follow, we become free. And when we are away from all these sinful activities, then our mind is more favorable to do chanting, favorable to do reading, favorable to do. But that doesn't mean that only after stopping all the thing one has to take up chanting and reading. But one starts chanting and one starts reading, all these abominable activities will automatically go away. And then what does a person receive? He receives the complete mercy of the Lord. So only by following the regulative principles and by controlling the senses and becoming free from attachment and aversion, one can receive the mercy of the Lord. Mataji, can you read?
Yeah, sure. Krishna conscious person is free from attachment and aversion. It is already explained that one may extremely control the senses by some artificial process, but unless the senses are engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, there is every chance of a fall. Although the person in Krishna, in full Krishna consciousness, may apparently be on the sensual plane because of his being Krishna conscious, he has no attachment to sensual activities.
So those, if one is trying to externally control their senses, then the chances of falling down is very high. For example, Vishwamitra, out of his own tapasya, he was more dependent on his own will. Saubari Muni, he was dependent on his own capacity. But Haridas Thakura, he was completely dependent on Krishna because he was chanting 192 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And we saw that twice Haridas Thakura was tested, once by a prostitute sent by the king Ramachandra Khan. Another is the Maya Devi herself tested Haridas Thakur, but Haridas Thakur easily came out of the test. He did not become a victim of the women. But we see that those sages who are following Ashtanga Yoga, who are more dependent on their own way, their own skills, and their own thing, there are more chances to fall. Sometimes it so appears that a Krishna conscious person is on a sensual plane. We see that. Sometimes we have like a music band like that where we invite the people from outside, we engage them in dancing and singing like that. But it looks like, Krishna conscious people, or, more like, like a hippies kind of thing. They are just going on the streets, they are getting to dance, and, like that they feel. But actually speaking, although he appears to be like that, does he really do that for his own pleasure, or he's just doing that so that he can get people there? Now we see AI, if you see, it is more on a material platform. But still we see that many devotees, they are involving that, utilizing the AI platform to preach Krishna consciousness, right? There's a Bhakti Lab, there is a channel where they are presenting Krishna consciousness through the AI in a very nice way. Although AI is used mostly on a sensual platform, but a devotee, even though it appears materially, it appears sensually, but he has no attachment because he is doing it only for the pleasure of Krishna. If we see most of the yogis, they get disconnected. They go out of the city, they go close to Himalayas, Rishikesh, and everything, and they do tapasya because they try to disconnect themselves. But if you see the ISKCON temples all over the world, where are they located? Are they located in a remote area or in the outskirts of the city, or most of them are located in the heart of the city?
In the heart of the city.
In the heart of the city, because you can engage more people in Krishna consciousness. While being in the heart of the city, you're exposed to so many things. It's not very easy, when you're there and when you're mingling with all these people and you're giving. But because of his attachment to Krishna, because his senses are engaged in serving the senses of Krishna, he is in full control. It may appear that he is doing a sensual activity, but he does not have any attachment towards it. Yes, Mataji.
So, how can one control senses? The Krishna conscious person is concerned only with the satisfaction of Krishna and nothing else. Therefore, he is transcendental to all attachment and detachment. If Krishna wants, the devotee can do anything which is ordinarily undesirable, but and if Krishna does not want, he shall not do that which he would have ordinarily done for his own satisfaction.
So we can see that a person who is in Krishna consciousness, he is completely away from attachment and detachment. Arjuna, he was not desiring to do the war. But why did he desire, in the end of the Gita, why did he desire to fight?
Krishna
Did
wanted
Arjuna
to.
really did not have any intention to fight? He kept across 5 reasons for not fighting, and all those reasons looked very nice and very, very, in a moral term, it looked very good reasons for not
Reason.
fighting, right? But in spite of that, why did Arjuna fight? Because
Krishna
whose
wanted to
desire
fight.
it was for this fight to happen?
Krishna.
Krishna's desire that this war should happen. Because he was willing to satisfy Krishna's desire, at the end, after Krishna gave the Bhagavad Gita, he says that I will do whatever you wish to. And Krishna said, Yat Ichchati Tat Kuru. He said that after giving the entire Gita, Krishna also did not force Arjuna that he should fight. He said that do whatever you like. But Arjuna said, Nashto Moha. All my doubts got cleared. After Krishna gave Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, all his doubts got clear. And he came to the conclusion that the goal of the life is to fulfill Krishna's desires and not his own desires. Because initially the Arjuna's reasons for not fighting is on his own personal reasons, right? Loss of enjoyment, fear of sinful activities, compassion, that is all on his own terms. But later on, he thought he will do what Krishna desires. Yudhishthir, even though he never lied in his life, when Krishna wanted him to say that Ashwatthama died, but he was like, said Ashwatthama died, but later on he used the word the elephant. But because whenever they say somebody died, the kettle drums are beaten so hard, so loudly that Dronacharya did not hear that it was an elephant, right? But because of that, Yudhishthir had to see the hell for one day because he did not want to say the lie for Krishna. So if Krishna desires, a devotee is also ready to say a lie. But if Krishna doesn't desire something, then he will not do anything. He shall not do what ordinarily done for his own satisfaction. I've seen sometimes the devotees, when they are in the travel, there are some places where they may not get any cooked prasadam. And they manage to live for 7, 8 days, 10 days just by eating fruits and by taking some milk and buttermilk. Because why they do not eat the outside food? Because Krishna says that if you're eating the food that is not offered to Krishna, then that is called papa. That is a sin. Because you're eating something, like for example, everything is given by Krishna. The crops are grown because the sunlight is there. And sun also works in the direction of Krishna. So without Krishna, there is no raw materials. Without any raw materials, we cannot cook any food. So, for one who has given us everything, it is the duty of us to reciprocate by offering that first to that person, right? Isn't it? So, that is the reason if you are eating the food that is not offered to Krishna, then that is considered to be a papa. And therefore, he does not do because Krishna does not will. So, he does everything under the will of Krishna. And what is the regulative principle of freedom, Mataji?
Regulative principle of freedom. Therefore, to act or not to act is within his control because he acts only under the direction of Krishna. This consciousness is the costless mercy of the Lord, which the devotee can achieve in spite of his being attached to the sensual platform.
So, because he does everything only under the direction of Krishna, if one person is doing everything, whatever Krishna wants, then what does he receive? Costless mercy. What do you mean by costless mercy? Cost means there is a reason. If something cause and effect, there is a reason. But we are not even entitled for any kind of mercy because we have done so many sinful activities. Life after life, we have been forgetting Krishna. Life after life, we have been trying to satisfy our senses in all species of life. Whether we had been a dog, or whether we had been a cat, or whether we had been a devata, or whether we had been a Brahma. Bhagavatam says that each and every living entity, when we fall down from the spiritual world, the first position given to us is the position of Brahma. Imagine the kind of downfall we had from Brahma. Each and everyone had been a Brahma in one lifetime. Now, where are we? And imagine a cockroach. Even a cockroach would have been a Brahma in some lifetime. And what has become to its situation? Right? So, Therefore, we have done so many sinful activities life after life, but by obliging to the desires of Krishna and by satisfying the desires of Krishna, Krishna bestows us the costless mercy. Okay. So, which the devotee can achieve in spite of being attached to the sensual platform. We cannot be outside the platform. Now, we are living in this material world. There are so many things that we have to do for the sake of the family, for the sake of the society. We are not sannyasis or renunciant who left outside the home. But even by being a part of the family and being there, still by following things under the direction of Krishna, we can receive the costless mercy of the Lord. Okay, we'll do the next sloka. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 65. Prasade sarva dukkhanam
प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां
hanir asyopajayate.
हानिरस्योपजायते
प्रसन्न चेतसो हैषु
प्रसन्नचेतसो हैषु
बुद्धिर्पर्यवतिष्ठते.
बुद्धिपर्यावतिष्ठते
प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां
प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां
हानिरस्योपजायते.
हानिरस्योपजायते
प्रसन्न चेतसो हैषु
प्रसन्नचेतसो हैषु
बुद्धिर्पर्यवतिष्ठते.
बुद्धिपर्यावतिष्ठते
प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां
प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां
हानिरस्योपजायते.
हानिरस्योपजायते
प्रसन्न चेतसो हैषु
प्रसन्नचेतसो हैषु
बुद्धिर्पर्यवतिष्ठते.
बुद्धिर्पर्यावतिष्ठते
Do you like to do, Mataji?
Yeah, yeah. प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां
प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां
हानिरस्योपजायते
हानिरस्योपजायते.
प्रसन्नचेतसो हैषु
प्रसन्न चेतसो हैषु
बुद्धिर्पर्यावतिष्ठते
बुद्धिर्पर्यवतिष्ठते.
For one, thus, sorry, just a second.
Word to word.
Yeah, 2.65. Just a second. Yeah. Prasade, Prasade, on achievement of the causeless mercy of the Lord, Sarva of all, Dukkhanam, material miseries, Hani, destruction, Asya, his, Upajayate, takes place, Prasanna Chetasa, of the happy minded, Hai, certainly, Asu, very soon, Ashu, very soon, Buddhi, intelligence, Pari, sufficiently, Avastite, become established. Translation. For one, thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established.
So there are threefold miseries. What are the threefold miseries? Adi,
Adi
Bhautik,
Bhautik, Adi
Adhyatmik, and Adi Daivik.
Daivik.
This is called Tapatraya, the threefold miseries. So sometimes we are affected because of our own body and the mind. Sometimes the other living entities are causing us misery. It may be our own family members, it can be friend, or it can be relative, it can be the society, it can be the country, or it can be anything. It can be even a mosquito, a bite which can cause us a dengue or malaria. And Adi Daivik is due to the natural calamities like COVID, like the wars that is all going. It is all the Adi Daivik. So we are seeing that every day, day in and day out, each and every one of us is subjected to these threefold miseries, right? Especially when you're going beyond 40 years. Every day when you wake up, you see your body is little different, right? It's not the same. You do not know with which pain you wake up, what happens to you. There are so many things that are happening. And mind, today everybody is affected because of this too much of screen time, exposure to internet, and the so-called globalization or whatever they see, we see that children today, their mind is so unsteady. You know, just a week back, one of a small boy in our society who lives in our wing, I just asked him, which grade are you in? And he said, who are you? Why are you asking me this question? So it doesn't even have a common sense that, we are living in the same society and I'm living in the same wing. So I might have known him. So I'm just asking him, which grade are you in? And he started shouting and screaming at me because I just asked a simple question, which grade you are in?
Mm.
Can't you even imagine how agitated the children are today?
Yeah, very true.
Because of their excessive exposure to the screen and everything, they do not know what a human relationship at all today. They just mechanically go. Today we see that even the children, they don't respect the teachers. They think that, because my parents are paying the fees, so they think that they have bought the teachers. They don't even have respect for anyone for that matter, right? We are talking the culture is lost. Previously, as soon as you wake up, we had a habit of offering pranam to the elders of the family. And then we go to the puja room and everybody does prayers together. Everybody is doing the aarti together and everybody sits and eat together. Then the sanskar was given. Today, each and everybody, they get up in their own time. They go whatever they want, and puja room is cleaned only for Diwali. Most of the people, otherwise, the regular lighting the lamp or offering agarbatti or flowers, even that is lost. Nobody does that other than that Lakshmi Puja that you do on a Diwali day. Once a year, a cleaning is happening. And then you're saying that you're losing the culture and tradition. First, we should set it up at our home, right? If we do not do that, then how do we get it? So we see that today these miseries are more and more visible than the previous days, right? At least in our own lifetime, we can see that those days when we were the children and today when we see our own children, at least we feel that our life was much better than theirs. Correct?
Yeah.
We were leading a more simple life, just going to school, coming out to play, no phone, no gadgets, nothing. All we know is just to talk with someone, to interact with someone, to play with someone. We did not hear people, diseases like depression and everything that much previously, correct? Today we see that the counselors are growing up like mushrooms, right?
Yeah.
So, because we are just exposed, we are so much exposed to this threefold miseries. So, but even in Srimad Bhagavatam, the second sloka of Srimad Bhagavatam says, Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmat saranam satam vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam तापत्रयोन्मूलनं श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते किं वा परैरीश्वर सद्यो हृत्य अवरुध्यते सकृद्भिः सुष्ठुषुभिः तत्क्षणात्. So Bhagavatam says that completely rejecting all the religious activities which are materially motivated, the Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. So only those devotees, if your heart is purified, then we can receive the message of Bhagavatam. If your heart is contaminated, then if you have jealousy, if you have greedy, then you cannot do. For example, if you are reading Prabhupada's book, everything is so clear. Everything is, the message is so profound, the message is so clear, everything is clear. But in spite of reading that book, how many people have become Krishna conscious? Is that all the people who read the book have become Krishna conscious? Is all the people who have read this, did it enter them? Although it is so very straightforward, it's very clear. No, because our heart is contaminated. Yesterday, I saw one of the posts during Prabhupada's time. One of the Prabhuji, when he was just 12 years old, he read Back to Godhead magazine, 7 pages of Back to Godhead magazine. And his mother is a Baptist, and she condemned him from reading any books other than the Christianity. And she removed the book and she kept. So this boy, imagine he just read 7 pages, and 5 years later, when he was 17 years, when he came in contact with the devotee, immediately he became a brahmachari. He joined the ashram and he became a brahmachari. Imagine just a 7 pages of Prabhupada's article, how powerful it is when he was just 12 years, who is not even from an Indian background or anything. What a profound impact it made on that boy that he became a full-time brahmachari when just he came in contact with one of the devotee, right? So we can see that Krishna consciousness is very powerful. So the highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. So what does this Bhagavata Dharma, what does it do? Uproots. What do you mean by uproots? When the roots are there, still there are chances for the plant to grow up again. Even if you cut the plant and if there is a root, then there are chances that it will grow up again. So sometimes, we are reading something, we are hearing something. For time being, we try to be more stable and more peaceful and more sensitive. But once we stop the association of the devotees, once we stop chanting, once we stop hearing, then we see this all those anarthas again grow up in our heart. So, but one who is becoming Krishna conscious, one who is completely Krishna consciousness, then all the threefold miseries is uprooted. We see that such a person is very peaceful. No matter whatever his condition is there. See, as in my Guru Maharaj, whenever wherever he stays, he does not even use an electric fan. Even in Gujarat, if he's in the summer at 42 degrees Celsius, he never uses an electrical fan. And he just lies, he doesn't use bed. He only sleeps in the mat. So we can see that they are not affected by any one of the thing. But whereas we, if there is a power cut, how agitated we become. In the summer, when there is a power cut, within 5 minutes, what will happen? So many things will happen, right? We will not be able to control even for 2 minutes, right? And imagine there are devotees who are living like that. In ISKCON Salem Temple, in the Brahmachari ashram, there is no electricity at all. There are 64 brahmacharis who are living, and they don't have electricity, they don't have light, they don't have fan. So they are living a completely an austere life, which means they are able to spend more time in Krishna consciousness. And when we see in the Mangal Aarti, you see that most of the brahmacharis, at least out of 64 brahmacharis, 60 brahmacharis are there for the Mangal Aarti, because there is no distraction, right? When there is a power, when there is a thing, our night doesn't wind up, we end up staying late in the night, right? If there's nothing much to do, what do? We sleep off soon. And we see that when we are completely in Krishna consciousness, then this threefold miseries does not exist. Like Prabhupada, even when there was a war, when there was a bomb thrown, he was completely peaceful. He didn't become agitated. He didn't stop doing his prayers. He didn't stop making prashadam, right? So this is what we said. And once intelligence is soon established. Why the intelligence is always considered very important? Because the mind is superior to the senses and the intelligence is superior to the mind. So, and the soul is superior to the intelligence also. So while we are there, we are not yet in the level of the soul. We have not understood the pleasure of the soul. The pleasure of the soul is Anandamayobhyasa. But while we are in this material world, if our intelligence is purified, then what happens? With the purified intelligence, you can control the mind. Your intelligence will say, okay, on the Ekadashi day, I have to do the fasting, no matter whatever it is. Your intelligence will say, I will only eat Krishna Prasadam. That is what Krishna desires. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that eating the food prepared by the materialist, our thought will be contaminated and we will not be able to advance in Krishna consciousness. So this is said by Krishna himself, Vishayendriya Anna. Don't eat the food cooked by the Vishaya people, by the materialistic people. Because what happens is when we eat the food cooked by them, then our consciousness is also affected. Like an art, when you see an art piece, it is also that consciousness of the person which is transferred in the art, right? His thoughts, his mind is there in the art. So similarly, while a person is cooking, his consciousness is transferred in the food. And imagine when we are eating the food cooked by such a materialistic person, then we also become materialist. All the efforts that we have done in Krishna consciousness, they will get ruined. Once you go and eat in the restaurant, next day you will not be able to wake up early in the morning. You may not be able to do your Mangalarti. You may not be able to do your chanting. You may not be having any interest to read or to hear. If you just observe yourself and see whenever you're eating outside food, how your bhakti is the following day or the next day. It is very difficult for us, right? Because our consciousness gets contaminated. So, a Krishna conscious person, when we are surrendering to Krishna, the benefit of that is he is not affected by the threefold miseries and his intelligence is purified when it is established. Then he can easily control his senses because intelligence is superior to the mind also. And most of the time, it is our mind that contemplates the senses, right? Mind is our friend and mind is also our enemy. Our mind says, do this. Our mind says, do that, right? But if the intelligence is stronger, that with that intelligence, we can control the mind. Like, for example, if we take a chariot, the five horses or the senses, the reins is our mind and the driver is the intelligence. So if the driver can carefully control the reins, then the horses will be in the control. If the driver is not properly maneuvering the reins, then what will happen to the horses? They will go in different directions. You cannot control them, right? So when our intelligence is purified, then we can control the mind and then we can control our senses. Therefore, when we become Krishna conscious, that's what Prabhupada said. An intelligent person will take Krishna consciousness. If a person is intelligent, he will take. Otherwise, he will not take because he knows that what is permanent and what is temporary. Right? We can see our intelligence in small things, especially when we take our children outside. That time we see our intelligence and we give them a very nice perversion or very nice thoughts we put on them. But how much are we implying it by ourselves? Right? That's true. Parents say
Yeah.
children don't use the screen time, don't use the mobiles, don't use this. And then most of the time parents are in the phone. Then what does the child do? The child will do what you're doing or the child will do what you're saying.
What they can see, they will do the same.
Yeah, they see. They see whatever they see, they do. Our actions speak louder than the words, right? For
Words.
example, just like 2 days back, I was cleaning up the shelves. While I was cleaning up, I had many books and I was just got interested seeing one of the book on the about Tulsi Devi. And even though I was cleaning, it's been a long time I read the book. So I was going through that book. And then my daughter came. And she also was checking her books and she also sat and started reading one of her favorite book. Then we see that both of them, we came for cleaning and I started reading one book and seeing me reading one thing, she also started taking and reading another book of her choice. So we see that, children's, they imitate whatever the parents do.
Yeah.
So if we want them to be having Krishna conscious, if you want them to be rooted to our tradition, rooted to our culture, first we should teach them. We should be an example to them. And if we are very much aware about the futility of the material world, if we know the temporariness of this material world, which Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, Dukh alayam ashashvatam. This is a place of misery and it is temporary. Having said that it is a place of misery and temporariness, still, if you are trying to get happiness in this world, is it an intelligent person? Will he do that?
No.
Will he do that? No. We see so many people recently in Kerala. One of the Mataji, she just came to Krishna consciousness in the year 2021 or 22. And 24, she got Harinam Diksha. And recently, 2 months back, she came across the campaign of Hargar Bhagavatam by one of the Mataji who is doing it very beautifully. And she is inspiring devotees to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam. And she heard her class on the distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam. And she was so inspired. She's a disciple of His Holiness Jayaprataka Swami Maharaj. Today is his Vyasa Puja. And the other Mataji, who is an inspiration for distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam, gave her a target of 108 books of Srimad Bhagavatam to be distributed as a Vyasa Puja offering for the Guru Maharaj. Although she thought that it was impossible, but within less than 2 months, she achieved her target of 108 book distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam. Can you imagine? She is a very young Mataji who was not even in Krishna consciousness before 2022. In just a short span of time, by her surrender to Krishna, she could do such a task in less than 2 months. Imagine Mataji distributing 108 sets of Bhagavatam, not just one book of Bhagavatam.
Oh,
So,
right.
108 sets of Bhagavatam she distributed to her
Mm.
friends, to her relatives, to her colleagues, and to the devotee congregation and everything. She hold lot of Zoom meeting and she inspired other like that. Less than 2 months, she achieved her goal of distributing 108 Bhagavatam. Before that, she has not distributed even a single set. From 0 to 180, 108, she distributed. All because of her surrender to Krishna, her intelligence. She's a professor teaching in a college, an engineering college, because her intelligence is purified by hearing the message of Krishna through Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, and she could render the service, right? So that's why Prabhupada said these books are all for the intelligent people. Because when an intelligent people, when they read Prabhupada's book, then they can understand. We know so many Prabhupada disciples. Swarup Damodar Maharaj, he was a scientist. In many places, he has presented Krishna consciousness in a scientific way. And people talk about the moon mission. People go to moon. But if you're going to moon, why are you coming back? Because there is no shelter. What is the use of going to moon, Mars, or everywhere when there is no shelter? Right? If you're going to some places and if you can't even get an accommodation, will you go there? Where will you shelter yourself? You will just come back. So similarly, you're making a moon mission, Mars mission, but we don't get shelter and you come back. But if one takes the shelter of Krishna, then he will go in such a place. Krishna says, Yadgatvana nivartante tadama paramamama. One who attains my abode will not come back to this material world again. Because Krishna gives the complete shelter. Whatever shelter we are looking for in this material world, every relation is temporary. But if one develops the relation with Krishna, knowing that Jivera Swarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas, we are all eternal servant of Krishna, and our duty is to serve Krishna. By serving Krishna, all our senses get purified and our desires get fulfilled. We can't be desireless, but by fulfilling the desires of Krishna, our desires will be automatically fulfilled. Okay, Mataji. So we had a plan to do one more sloka, but I think we are already delayed. So we'll stop here. Thank you for joining. Can we do the Narsimha Aarti? Rekha Mataji, would you like to take a lead?
Yeah. Okay. Namaste Narasimhaya
Prahlada
Pranadanadaraya
Nada Dai हिरण्याकाशे पूर्वशता
पूर्वशः
शीलटङ्कानपालाये इतो
इतो
नरसिंहतो
नरसिंहोपहरतु
नरसिंहा
नरसिंहो
यतो यतो
यतो
यामि ततो
ततो
नरसिंहा
नरसिंहो
भगी
हरे
नरसिंहा
नरसिंहो
हृदये
हृदये
नरसिंहा
नरसिंहो
नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे तव करकमलभरेण कमद्भुतशृङ्गा दलित हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गा केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव भक्ति विघ्न विनाशक नरसिंह भगवान की जय भक्ति शिरोमणि प्रहलाद महाराज की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंतकोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय भगवद गीता as it is की जय so let us make a best use of our human form of life by becoming completely Krishna conscious. Don't waste a single moment of time because every moment of time that is wasted, we cannot even get it by paying millions of dollars back also. So, the Maharaj in his screen, he has life is short, utilize it usefully. That is the word these are the words he has in his screen. Life is short. We do not know, as a flickering thing the life goes away, but after many lifetimes we got an opportunity to become Krishna consciousness, and Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj said, finish off this business in one lifetime. Although Krishna consciousness is very potent, whatever we have done, it is not going to be a loss. We will continue. But as we see that Kali Yuga is becoming more and more Gora Kali Yuga, who would like to come back again here? So let's try to surrender to Krishna and chant our rounds. And also, it's important for us to take shelter of Guru, because only by Guru's mercy we can get Krishna. So in our life, we should have a desire to get to become a disciple of a Guru. So we should have that in our mind. At least we should desire. It may look difficult, but if we desire, it will certainly happen, because if our intelligence is strong, then we should know that we have to go back home, back to Godhead. Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.